It's the early 2000s. Web design is wonderfully chaotic, filled with repeating image backgrounds, bright saturated colors, and Comic Sans. The iPhone just released in 2007, and everyone is going wild. There's an app for that. Every problem you could think of, every possible use case, had a creative new app behind it, complete with a striking new look. In terms of design, it was truly the Wild West. Flash forward to the year of our Lord 2025. Does it feel like a lot of apps are starting to blur together? Are websites the same minimalist black and white design? Is everyone using the same set of icons? Have we entered an age of homogenized design slop? Hi, I'm Emil the UX Lizard, and I'm a professional UX designer. I think there are several causes behind this phenomenon. So come with me to try and find a reason why all apps and websites are starting to look the same. Design systems are a hot commodity nowadays, but what are they? Basically, a design system is a framework of standards and components and documentation which dictate how your entire app or product looks and flows, no matter the situation, no matter the platform. This usually includes, but is not limited to, a style guide which tells you everything about the aesthetics of the app, from the color to the typography to even the radii of the buttons, explanations on how and when to use certain elements, and usually a library of components that you can, at a high level, just copy and paste into your app. These are usually only accessible internally by company employees, but they are sometimes made public and given cute names like Salt for JP Morgan and Fluent from Microsoft. Companies are putting tons of capital and resources into developing their own design system. I mean, just check out the job boards nowadays. For one thing, design systems allow designers and developers to work faster and more efficiently, creating and managing user interfaces at scale. Why remake and recheck components every time you make a new feature or update, when you can just reuse the same assets? Work smarter, not harder. Developers can even access assets in design systems directly through code, bypassing the need to ask designers and reducing the amount of bottlenecks. Plus, we avoid situations when the mock might be a little complicated to implement. This saves both time and money. Plus, having a central design system helps reinforce your brand. Instead of different developers and designers just guesstimating what colors or pixel padding to use, you have the rules at your fingertips. And this helps create a consistent look across all of your products, no matter the platform or context. Why is this important? Let's play a little game! Which is the official logo for FedEx? If you chose the left one, you are incorrect. Hand over your data, please. Much like fake luxury brands, you could be duped into picking the wrong app, maybe even a malicious one. Now, which Skype is the correct one? Trick question, because these were all used by Skype at the same time. RIP Skype, gone too late. When two products from the same company look slightly off, this creates confusion. Which is the official version? Well, a design system can fix that. But remember, this is a video on why all apps and websites are starting to look the same. When you have instructions on what you're supposed to build and make, you don't really have as much freedom to change things or think outside the box. Unless you like sitting in meetings. The brand's image must be maintained across apps, devices, and even countries. So apps under said brand begin to look more and more similar, with designers and developers trying to tackle new problems with the same assets, tools, processes, and ways of thinking. And this is all well by design. Different platforms will have certain requirements, but instead of maintaining separate design systems, it's just easier to go with the style that best fits every platform. Still, different apps from different companies will look different, right? Well, not exactly. You also have to think about the platform these products will be on. Apple, Microsoft, Google, all of these companies have certain standards when it comes to what appears on their screens, and each of them also have their own design systems, which they often make open source for smaller developers and companies to use. So a lot of them will use the same buttons, widgets, what have you. It's just faster and, more importantly, cheaper. So let's say you made your design system, and now you've slashed your development time and saved quite a bit of money. Your app is still lagging behind your competitors in sales and positive reviews. Can't really consult our design system on that one.
I don't know.
So what are we doing wrong, and how do we improve our app? Well, if we're trying to beat our competitors, why not see what they're doing right or wrong? This can be done through competitive analysis. Basically, you compare your own product with those of other companies, either through data or hands-on testing, to see how your competitors tackle the problems you are facing, as well as how they fare, both in what they excel in and what they fail at. The goal is to see what works, what doesn't work, and what hole in the market you could possibly fill.
Whatever. Just fill the hole filler.
Sure, jackass.
Why tread the same ground and make the same pitfalls? Much like science, we are building and improving on existing discoveries and tools. Again, work smarter, not harder. Let's not reinvent the wheel every time. For companies, this is just the most efficient. There are forces that are not driven by user needs, such as how much budget is given to a project, or how many members are on your team, or when a product is set to release. Not every project can be groundbreaking or revolutionary. The fact of the matter is there are real business constraints and goals that every designer has to abide by. A common strategy teams will do is make a 2x2 matrix and label one axis as impact and the other axis as effort. Ideally, you want project ideas nestled in that high impact and low effort quadrant. What kind of ideas go here? Of course, the ones which people have done before that have been proven to work. Get to analyzing, buddy. What competitive analysis is not, mind you, is plagiarizing other people's work. Now, Mark Twain did say there's no such thing as an original idea, but generally designers try not to explicitly copy other people's user interfaces. Still, it's often easier for companies to say, let's see what John Apple or Steve Microsoft are doing. Companies are not immune to trends, particularly very successful ones. I mean, take a look at Tinder. Their swipe left and right gesture design was so popular that it's become, aside from a staple in modern culture, the default dating app workflow. Heck, it's not even exclusive to dating apps. Companies take a look at that and go, well, they gotta be doing something right. We need it in our product stopped. Go overtime. Flat minimalist designs are in, skeuomorphic detailed ones are out. Who needs all that pesky detail? The simplicity should make the elements more distinct, right? Oh no. Then we throw in generative AI to train on all those similar looking apps and baby, you've got a stew cooking. How does the saying go? Garbage in, garbage out? This isn't even exclusive to features and design elements. Entire design fields and methodologies often stem from the successes of large companies, like IDEO and Google, who have each published their own design resources, which aspiring students or working designers sometimes use as a basis for their own work. I mean, given their success, it's gotta be the only direction worth going down, right?
To the victor belongs the spoils.
Why don't you get out of here before I shove your quotations book up your fat...
Aside from consulting your design system or taking a look at your competitors, the best way to improve your app is by, well, talking to the people who use it. User testing is the backbone of both UX design and research. According to the Interaction Design Foundation, user experience design is the process design teams use to create products that provide meaningful and relevant experiences to users. Interviews and product testing are like the elephants atop the turtle, which support the world of UX. You'd be surprised how often devs and product managers are blindsided by the valuable insight provided by users. For example, there's a famous story about the $300 million button. On an e-commerce site, after users added items to a cart, they would then have to log in or register a new account before they could input payment details. Simple enough, right? Well, a researcher actually found that first-time users would freeze when they reached this page. One user even remarked, "I'm not here to be in a relationship. I just want to buy something." Returning users were annoyed too, because sometimes they couldn't remember their username or password. The solution? They replaced a register button with another one that said continue as guest. Users were no longer required to register a new account to check out. This one change led to the number of customers increasing by 45%, culminating in an additional $300 million profit. Who better to know how to serve the customer than the customer themselves? Whether it's focus tests for a movie, play tests for a game, or user tests of an app, the end result is the same. Make something that customers like. Well, that's the thing though.
You want a realistic, down-to-earth show that's completely off the wall and swarming with magic robots.
Users, of course, are not a monolith. But much like companies, we the users are also not immune to trends. There's a concept in cognitive psychology called the availability heuristic, or availability bias. It is a mental shortcut which uses immediate examples that come to someone's mind as a basis for evaluating certain topics or decisions. What this means is we often give more weight and credence to thoughts which come to our mind first, particularly if the memory is recent, frequent, or vivid. One example of this is plane crashes. 2025 had many high-profile crashes which led to flyers worrying whether flying was safe anymore. Not only has there been less accidents than in previous years, but flying as a whole has never been safer. Yet we still give more weight to those news stories that pop in our heads. In user research, this can often affect the participant. Users will draw on well-known examples, whether they be trends or patterns they are familiar with, to judge interfaces or approach workflows. Patterns like, let's say, hamburger menus or using the X button to close. In Don Norman's book, Design of Everyday Things, he talks about the gulf of execution. Essentially, let's pretend there's two cliffs across from one another. One is the actions you want to do or think you can do with a system to achieve a goal, and the other is what the system allows you to do to achieve that same goal. For example, how many of you set up a printer for your computer? My mental model is that I can just plug in a USB or connect via Bluetooth to print. However, what the device intends is that I need to go online, install a bunch of drivers, download some random app, add the printer in my OS settings, troubleshoot, offer up my firstborn, I don't know. As you can see, this leads to a very frustrating experience. Ideally, you want that gulf to be as small as possible. However, unintuitive controls or complicated handling can expand that gulf to the point where you expect one result but might get something entirely different, or not be able to get that result at all. In essence, how can I, as a user, accomplish my goal as frictionless as possible? Well, as mentioned before, we want to reduce that gulf, and how do we do that? By making the user's workflow match their mental model. In essence, the system should work exactly how a user envisions it should. But what is the user envisioning? Well, whatever is comfortable and familiar to them. And so that availability bias starts to creep in. This could be parallels found in the real world or commonly used apps and products in frequented spaces.
You see where I'm going?
Let's never be creative again. People like what's familiar because it's easy and intuitive. No need to stress the mind by learning something new. If it works well, why change it? I mean, look at the uproar whenever a company changes the user interface of an app. People and companies can often be, at times, risk-averse, which makes those who do take a risk all the more impressive for it, so long as they stick the landing. How many times have you seen someone miss their mark, only to think, yeah, well, it's kinda obvious it failed. Why would anyone want to do that? The sad truth is, usability doesn't always mean beautiful or unique interfaces. Still, are you designing for the user or yourself? This is a topic a lot of designers have been puzzled with over the years. Even Jesper, CEO and founder of Teenage Engineering, felt that to their core at Config 2024, an annual design conference run by software giant Figma. When asked by Figma CEO Dylan Field,
do you believe in user testing? Do you believe in user testing? Or user research?
No. No.
Yup, yeah, he said that at one of the largest professional UX conferences run by one of the largest design platforms in the world. I don't know about you, but that's... He further clarifies that
I always design for myself. If I wouldn't buy it or use it, then I would probably be super depressed.
maybe rather extreme, but it does raise an interesting question. Are you or are you not your own user? So, do I think we're in a dull, tasteless world because of all this? Have design systems, competitive analyses, and user tests doomed us to a world of product clones? Would we be better off without all of these guardrails to really embrace innovation and creativity?
We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on!
Well, no. We've never lived in a more technology-accessible world. New ways of interaction are constantly being tested and introduced, and some designers and developers have turned it into an art form. Well, even if the goal is to piss the user off. I mean, you wouldn't say we have solved fashion or clothing. Design constantly evolves and diversifies, a constant push and pull between the philosophy of the creator and the desires of their particular user base. Plus, user experience design and user research are extremely important and at times necessary ways to improve products or even the world around us. Speaking and empathizing with the users has led to entire fields and studies devoted to accessibility, ergonomics, and information architecture. With technology becoming an increasingly important part of our everyday lives, we need to be cognizant of how we interact with it day to day, either in or outside of the screens. You never know what you might find that nobody's ever thought of. Maybe another $300 million button? Still, despite the innovations, a part of me feels that emotion and beauty have taken a backseat in high-level corporate decisions. That design has focused so much on optimization that it leads to risk-averse interfaces, thus leading to an increasingly barren, minimalist landscape. From my personal experience, some companies and designers are obsessed with what is most efficient or what turns the most profit. Are these the only indicators of a good design? Well, I personally don't think so. People in some way yearn for beauty. Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, of course, but sometimes we put up with something that might not be the most smooth or the most informative, just because, well, it's pretty or cool.
I just think they're neat.
Take a look at art and architecture throughout history. All these gentle curves, thoughtful symmetry, detailed patterns. Was a lot of it so intricately made to flaunt one's wealth? Well, yeah, but there's something about aesthetics and detail which I feel like some designers are so terrified of. As Eva Zeisel, renowned Hungarian industrial designer, put it, we must make soul contact with our public. Great designers should aspire to something higher than just making things work better. This was said as a critique of the then popular modern movement, or modernism, an early 20th century art movement which tried to address social woes through art and design, embracing industrialization, organization, function, and minimalism, whilst rejecting the ornamentalism of the 19th century. Sound familiar? Modernism itself, through schools like the Bauhaus, still impact interface design today. Design and art are so often thought of as different professions, but I like to think they're somewhat intertwined. I mean, isn't beauty itself an integral part of the experience? So, what do you think? Is there too much of an emphasis on design consistency that stifles innovation? Are these systems and techniques necessary to guide us through the chaos of technology? Or is there a happy middle ground, where we can make something efficient and user-friendly without needing to sacrifice creativity and beauty? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy these ramblings from a designer, please like and subscribe. As always, thanks for watching.